Sycamore CreeK, we are a boutique winery in the Santa Clara Valley. We're located in Morgan Hill. We focus mostly on Bordeaux varietals, so a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, Petit Verdot. We do single varietals. Those are our 3 flagship wines. We grow those on our estate. And we also grow a little bit of Chardonnay. We focus mostly on the Bordeaux varietals, so that's really our passion. And we are a small producer. We only do about 1,500 to 2,000 cases a year. Today we have a Chardonnay, a Merlot, and a Cabernet Sauvignon. So if you're looking for a Chardonnay to go with, say, something with garlic in it, you're going to want to look for something more crisp, something unoaked, a little bit lighter and fruitier. So this is our 2011 Chardonnay. The fruit from this wine came from a vineyard actually in Hollister, which is DeRose Vineyard. And we like to do 2 different types of Chardonnays. We do a stainless steel Chardonnay, which is completely unoaked. And we also do a traditional style oak Chardonnay. So it does go through a malolactic fermentation, which will create that kind of buttery influence a lot of people associate with Chardonnay. And it does go in oak barrels for up to 18 months. So the first thing when you're tasting wine that you want to look at is you really want to look at the color of the wine. This is a very light colored, almost a straw colored, almost transparent. And so that can tell you in a white wine a little bit about how much oak influence there is. The next thing you want to do is smell. For this wine, I get a lot of fruit influence immediately. There's a lot of green apple, pear, a little bit of pineapple. So when you are smelling a wine or tasting a wine, you really want to start broad and narrow it down. A lot of people get really overwhelmed when they go wine tasting because they're not sure kind of what they're supposed to see in the wine, what they're supposed to taste in the wine. There's generally tasting notes that will help you, but not everybody's going to have the same sensory experiences, so not everyone's going to get the same descriptors from the same wine. But generally what you want to look for is fruit influence. If it's a stone fruit, you can narrow it down from there. If it's a tree fruit or if it's a tropical fruit. If you're not sure, you kind of just smell and say, okay, this is kind of tropical. It kind of reminds me maybe of summer a little bit. And what are the notes that are giving me that? Okay. So like with an apple, you could say, oh, it smells like apple. And then if you want to get more specific, you can narrow it down from there. It smells like green apple. It smells like Granny Smith apple. It smells like, you know, there's so many different types of apple that you can go into, and they're all different and they're all specific. But starting broad is really the key. If your mouth puckers, I think it depends on what you're trying to do with the wine, because sometimes you'll get wines that have a really sharp acid content, and that's a lot of times the puckering sensation that you'll get. And there's nothing wrong with those wines, but those wines tend to be food wines. So those are going to be the kind of wines that you want to have with a meal. They're not going to be the kind of wines that you sit and have a glass in front of your fireplace with. It's a little bit more difficult in a plastic cup, but when you're looking at the legs, the things that you're really looking at is the viscosity of the wine. It's going to give you an indicator of the alcohol content and the residual sugar. So the longer and thicker the legs are, the more alcoholic and the more sugar there is in the wine. Because here in the Santa Clara Valley there is such a variety, and there are so many microclimates even within our valley that not every producer is going to have the same types of wines. Generally you'll see more reds just because it is a warmer climate, but there are some fabulous whites coming out of this area as well. I think there's a lot of really good blends coming out of this area. Most wineries have at least one type of blend that they do, and they're really crafting the blends. So instead of taking the wines that's left over and making a blend, they're making a blend with the intention of creating a really elegant, smooth wine. Well, I think there's some great, really inexpensive wines. There's definitely something to be said about making bulk wine because you have a lot more opportunities to fix problems and flaws and blend things away. So a lot of times when you have the cheaper bottles of wine, they'll be more consistent from bottle to bottle because they made such a large amount of that wine, and that's why it is at such a low price point. But there are some really small producers that are crafting really artisan wines that are at a moderate price range as well. But I think as far as choosing a wine for your own price range, that's really going to be determined by your own budget. Not everyone's going to like some of the really expensive wines. You might prefer a $10 or $15 bottle of wine, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about finding your own personal preference and finding what you like, and that's really the key to enjoying wine. So a certified sommelier is somebody that really focuses on wine service and food pairing. So we really spend a lot of time learning about wine, learning about the different regions around the world, winemaking processes, things of that nature. How to serve wine, how to pair wine. Well, I really found my passion for wine working at the winery. I started pouring in the tasting room on the weekends and realized that was really my passion. And I'm always striving to learn more, always on a quest for more knowledge. And I started down the path as a sommelier to kind of obtain that knowledge, and I realized that it's kind of lit this fire in me to follow my dreams and kind of either go towards master sommelier or master of wine or some type of higher knowledge level in wine and winemaking. So I am getting involved more in the winemaking process itself, which is a whole other ballgame, but it's really interesting and it's really fun, and I really love doing it.